in Iowa Sunday.
Welcome back on this Sunday morning. Election day is 1 month away, and Iowans in the 1st Congressional District have a repeat matchup between Democrat Christina Bohannon and Republican incumbent Congresswoman Mariannette Miller Meeks, who joins us now in studio. Congresswoman, thanks for taking the time to be here today.
It's great to be with you.
Let's just start off on issues specifically in our state here. That's what this first segment will be about. I want to talk about the Farm Bill extension deadline that had passed actually at the very end of last month. Now, Representative Ashley Hinson had said that she wants, after the election, this current Congress to look at the Farm Bill and try to pass something. How do you view it? Do you want to wait until there's a new Congress in January or have this current Congress get something done?
Well, you know, given that corn is under $4 a bushel and soy is under $10 a bushel, I think our farmers are really stressed. They need the certainty of a farm bill so they know what to do for planting season, you know, what kind of crops to put in, when to put in. So there's crop insurance in there, animal disease surveillance, and we already know that we had, you know, a new bout of avian influenza. So there's just a lot of stress, I think, among our farmers, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety. And this is at a time when input costs are high. So I would say one of the good things about this growing season was we had a lot of rain early on, yields are high, and they haven't had to use, you know, they're not going to have to use propane to dry corn or soy. So that's one of the benefits. You're correct. We extended the Farm Bill. We didn't get it quite done last year. It was extended. That extension ended on September 30th at the federal fiscal year. I really want to get something done in the lame duck session. And then the other thing is, in the continuing resolution we passed, there are some of the components of the Farm Bill in the continuing resolution. Again, it's not the same as passing the entire Farm Bill, but that is a step in the right direction. The other part of the Farm Bill, so not only are we concerned about it from the agricultural standpoint and agroeconomy, but also for the nutritional benefits for individuals. And right now, with people struggling with high prices at the grocery store, high prices at the gas pump and prescription drugs, you know, knowing that this Farm Bill and those nutritional assets are there and available, that's important too for both people that are receiving them and also food banks and churches that are, you know, helping people struggling right now.
What would you tell to Iowa farmers right now that are concerned about that extension passing? You mentioned there was a resolution, so there is some of those programs continuing here, but there are some programs that are dropped until a new one is passed. What would you tell Iowa farmers that are concerned about that extension deadline passing?
We're going to try very hard in this lame duck session when we go back to pass the Farm Bill. It could be that there'll be another one-year extension, but we are really going to try. You've got Representative Randy Feenstra of Iowa, Representative Zach Nunn on the Agricultural Committee, but every single one of us have been pushing for this Farm Bill to get done. So we're going to keep pushing, we're going to keep working, we're going to keep talking to other members on both sides of the aisle to get this thing across the finish line in the lame duck session.
And you mentioned economy, and your two answers ago here. You have a commercial where you're going through the grocery store and grabbing items and talking about the high prices of items right now. Inflation has cooled down a little bit, but do you still see it when you're going out and door knocking in between up in session in D.C.? Is that the number one thing people are complaining about to you, or what do you think?
The number one thing people are complaining about is the economy. Now, I'm the fourth kid of 8. My dad was enlisted Air Force. My mom had a GED. Both my parents worked. My dad, extra jobs on the weekend. You know, as a preteen and teenager, I went with him on Sunday mornings at 5 to help clean pizza parlors. He didn't want me to clean, he just wanted company. So I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to, you know, the end of the month coming up, you get one paycheck and you don't have enough. How do you stretch those dollars? So it is a big deal. And even though the, you know, official inflation number has come down, prices have stayed high. And most importantly, you know, a 3% or a 3.5% inflation, this is year over year. So it's not just 3%, this is cumulative. So we're talking 21% inflation since the Biden-Harris administration came into power. It is a big deal. It affects, you know, people at the gas pump. It affects people in the grocery store, prescription drug prices. And then high interest rates affects people trying to rent or trying to sell or buy a home. And so it is a big deal to people. People are struggling. And it's important for us to put in place policies, both pro-growth policies that improve the economy, lead to increased wages, but also tamp down that spending that those 3 large spending bills, especially the first one, 1.9 trillion COVID, that led to the inflation. Within 5 months of President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration being in office, inflation went from 1.6% in December of 2020 to 5.6% in May of 2021.
I'm curious too, at the vice presidential debate, the economy and inflation was a big talking point. You had candidate and Senator J.D. Vance pointing to the American Rescue Plan funding for the start of it too. Then you had Governor Tim Walz pointing to the Trump administration when COVID had hit, unemployment skyrockets. What do you think truly is the cause of that rise? Is it the American Rescue Plan funding pumping a bunch of federal funds into a bunch of different states? Do you think that's truly the root cause of it? Or,
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of facets going in.
There are a lot of facets, but when you have too much money in an economy chasing too few goods, so we knew that there would be some supply chain issues coming out of the pandemic. That was not a surprise. What was a surprise was all of this money being dumped into the economy at a time when you had supply chain issues. Even Larry Summers, who was the economic advisor to President Obama and the Treasury Secretary to President Clinton, mentioned in the spring of 2021 that this money that was being thrown into the economy was going to lead to a rise in inflation. We had Jerome Powell that we were able to get testimony from in the select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. I asked him about that, asked him about what transitory meant to him, because we were already 5 months of increasing inflation. And our concern was that inflation was going to continue to rise. Sure enough, inflation went from 1.6% in December of 2020 to 9% in 2022 after 2 large spending bills. That's on top of the regular spending bills. This was in addition to a $4 trillion economy that we have in spending. So 2 large spending bills fuel the inflation that we have. And even though, again, the official rate of inflation has gone down, prices have remained high because this is year over year cumulative inflation. I've been through that struggle. I've had loans that were at 13% interest rate. I know what that's like. I know how hard that is for families to deal with, and individuals and single people trying to get ahead, and trying to buy their first home or feel like the American dream is there for them. It is a very tough economy. It lays at the feet of the Biden-Harris administration. And I will tell you that the Harris-Walz administration, potential administration, their solutions for getting the economy under control, they broke it, they own it. Their policies will make things worse. Tax on unrealized gain, give me a break. That is just going to, hurt farmers, hurt small businesses, hurt people. Not extending the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, that affected almost everybody, especially in the lower income brackets. They will immediately see their take-home pay decrease because their taxes will go up.
And then last question here in this segment, we just got about a minute left. I want to talk, you were originally going to become a teacher until you want to become a doctor. We'll get to that story here later. How do you feel about some of the educational changes here in the state relating to student saving accounts and just now changes to the state's area education agencies? That's a state issue, a state legislature issue, but how do you feel about that? There has been talks about that coming up here, maybe potentially on a federal level.
Well, as far as the education savings accounts, so in 2021, in my first year in Congress, I signed on to a school choice bill. I happen to be the co-chair of the public school caucus, so both charter schools, but alternatives to the public education system. It's all an education system. The point is to educate children, to give them the best opportunity. And other countries have differing types of public education systems and private education systems. My opponent sent her daughter to private education. Myself, my husband, my kids, we all went to public education. And I think that especially after COVID, when you saw, teachers unions and heads of teachers unions and people, really bad-mouthing the, private education or educational savings accounts or vouchers or, educational choice, charter schools, those same people were sending their kids to private schools as our school systems were closed down. And thank goodness Governor Reynolds and our legislature opened up our schools in the fall of 2021 so that our children did not suffer through the same educational losses that other school systems did.
All right, we'll be right back with more with Congresswoman Mary Nett Miller Biggs.